Well, hello everybody. I am Kari the Mortician and welcome back to our viewer question and answer series. And this week we have Ashleigh out in New Mexico. I feel like it's so far away, New Mexico, and I don't know why compared to I don't know, Utah is like right there too, but I feel like New Mexico to me is so far away because I've never been there, never thought of going there maybe because I don't really know what's there. So
Actually, we're famous for the largest gathering of hot air balloons in the world, and it usually happens in October.
oh, well, that's something. I feel like now that you say that, I knew that, but I didn't realize I think that it was New Mexico. I think I thought it was Arizona for some reason, but yeah, I need to learn about New Mexico now that I'm like thinking of this. I really have a void of knowledge of New Mexico. That's not so, well, you're here to ask me 3 questions. So what is your first question?
So my first question, if your state doesn't offer a service, like for example, flameless cremation, like what I'm interested in, how would I go about getting access to that?
So first you need to know the laws in your state in terms of embalming, not embalming, and then you need to know where your closest water cremation or flameless cremation facility is. So whether you've got to drive to California or whatnot, you just find out where your local is. So like I had talked to Melissa when she was in Texas, is a funeral director, and she was flying individuals. They would come into her care in Texas. She would put them in a container for shipment and ship them to St. Louis for the water cremation facility there because they did not need to be embalmed to go, and they were just packed. I think she packed them in dry ice. They were flown there. So the only additional charge was the airline, which it's a direct, I think Southwest direct flight from Texas to St. Louis. So the only additional charge was really that flight if you wanted to decide between basic, flame cremation or flameless cremation. And so that was the only additional, charge, but you could get that service still. So like in Michigan, we would drive to Illinois where the cremation place facility is there. And then they would ship the individual via mail back to us or to the family. So it would only be the additional driving down there.
So I know in New Mexico, they would have to embalm me because there's a state law that states if you're out of cold storage more than 30 minutes, you have to be embalmed.
Okay, so then you would have to be embalmed to take the flight out or to drive you to the nearest facility. So you would just have to factor in some of those things. The best is to call a funeral home and have them kind of figure out the mileage or an airfare and factor all that in. But if that's kind of the disposition choice that you want, then you just figure out how to achieve that. And it's
okay.
Not just because it's not legal in your state doesn't mean it's out of the realm of possibility. You can always travel to it. It's just that additional charges to get to it in the end.
All right. And then another example, if an individual, I've heard some funeral directors say this is helpful, but if an individual wears makeup, is it helpful for the family to bring in the makeup that they would normally wear in pictures?
It is good to bring in their makeup. It may not always be the best thing for us to use, but it at least gives us an idea of colors and things. Sometimes different style cosmetic and especially color. So your color and your foundation based color is going to be different usually than what you wore. So that we may have to use a different, variation for cosmetics. But when it comes to maybe eyeshadow color, lip color and everything, that way we can match it, which is perfect. If we have your own colors and your own lip color, it's going to look a little more natural to your family. If you wore blue eyeshadow, we're obviously not going to apply it the same way with your eyes closed that it would be with your eyes open, but we can at least tell that those were some of the colors and things that you used.
And then what recommendations would you have for someone who has issues? Like I know personally, I know it's not going to go over well with my family, but I've already, due to how my grandfather's passing affected me, I've already made it clear to my family that I won't be attending my grandmother's funeral.
Hmm. Okay.
And so I already know that there's going to be backlash. How would you recommend someone handled that?
In terms of talking to your family about it,
Yeah.
or, well, first, why don't you want to go? Kind of explain.
Uh, because that's the last memory I have of him, and it's not, to me, it wasn't a positive one. And I was when we went to his service, which was also a viewing, I was in high school and my mom said, well, you need to go look at him. And I'm like, well, I don't want to.
Okay.
And I was forced.
Okay. Do you want to still be a part of it even without viewing her when the time
I
comes?
don't know. I haven't figured that out, but I already know with her age, I'm going to have to make a decision.
Yeah. Well, it's good to make decisions regardless. I mean, just with everybody. I mean, anybody can die at any time. So it's one of those things is how did how would you feel if that was a scenario? Um, I think figuring out for yourself what it is you need. You don't need to appease anybody by what your choices are, but I think just thinking them through and thinking, what don't you want to do and what do you want to do? If you want to still listen to the service and maybe be part of things with your family, maybe you still can go and just be in a room that you're not having to see her, or be on a Zoom where you get to still listen, or something where you can
Yeah.
be kind of part of it without being a part of it all. So I think there's still options, or even meeting them at the graveside. Casket's not going to be open. You're still there with
Well,
them.
she's being cremated, so we don't even have to worry about that.
Okay, so is she going to be viewed at all?
She's paying for a viewing. She wants a
Okay,
viewing, but
and
she
then
wants to
cremation
be
after.
cremated and then buried with my grandfather.
Okay, so figure out which part of it you want to be part of. Your families may not understand, but it's not for it's not for them to have to understand. It's like if you want to be cremated and your family's always done burial, like that's just your choice. It's what you want. It's kind of your thing. It's hard to that your family wants to like kind of shame you into wanting to do something, or like force you into wanting to do stuff.
Well, to be fair, since then my mom's apologized. She goes,
Okay.
I should have never forced you to do that after you were old enough to tell me that you didn't want to.
Well, I think that's where a lot of people's fears is you kind of respond with the polar opposite of what they're telling you. You like stick your feet in the sand and don't want to do it the next time, but to a bigger degree. And that's kind of where you're at is you told me I had to, I didn't want to. Well, guess what? Now I'm not going to do, I'm not doing
Well,
it.
it's also my mental health is very fragile, and I actually had to go through therapy after my grandfather's death to deal with it. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I love you, Mom, but it's not worth going through it again.
Yeah, you know yourself the best and you know where your comfort level is. And as long as you're following your comfort level and going along with what you want, what you're able to do and what you're comfortable doing, and seeing if there's a middle ground where you can try and be part of something or whatnot, then I think it's okay. You don't have to explain yourself to every second cousin and everybody at all. Your mom can just say you had to work that day. Who knows? You can just
Yeah.
everybody doesn't need to know all the explanation of everything you do. So I think it's completely fine.
All right.
Three already?
Yeah, that was 3 questions.
Oh my gosh, that was so fast. That was good. That was awesome.
It took us forever to get together, so I had time.
I know we've been going back and forth. Ashleigh's getting married in September, so we've had engagement photos and family issues for me and just all this stuff coming up all over the place. So I'm glad, and work, some people have to battle in that work during the day. And so we did do an evening video session, which is really good that we were able to do this. So.
No, and you picked a perfect night because it's a night where I'm home alone because the fiance works nights. And
Good. This worked out good. Well, I get to cross another state off my list. We are whittling down to the end. So I'm so excited to see. It's kind of fun. I don't know what state's going to be last. So I feel like they should get a prize, the last like runner up in the bottom, because they're going to have to figure out questions that all the rest of the people didn't ask, I feel like. So we'll see what happens at the end of all of this viewer questions from across the state. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Ashleigh. I really appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
So thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next video. Bye.